This week, I have 7 tips for you for loving someone who's struggling with substance misuse, because it can be very hard to stay sane and in your lane. That's a phrase that I'm going to use here. I was interviewed recently on Kate Watson's podcast. She has a great podcast called Only Trying to Help, where I talk a little bit about my personal experience loving someone who's struggling with addiction or substance misuse. And I have distilled some tips for you from my own experience, a little bit of a blend from motivational interviewing spirit and experience, and more. So I've got 7 tips for you. I'm going to give them a go, and you're going to see me look over here occasionally because I want to make sure I name them all. The first tip is stop waiting for change. Stop waiting for the other person to change. You really give your power away when you're waiting for the other person to make a change. So take your power back, look at the changes you can and need to make in order to support yourself and make yourself as healthy as possible, and allow that other person to be where they are. There's some nuances here to all these tips, so I'm also going to encourage you to use a little bit of your own experience and needs and common sense too to make adjustments. My second tip is to stop arguing. It is really natural to get drawn into arguing with logic, criticizing, pointing out the things that they're saying that aren't making sense or doing that aren't making sense. That is typically not helpful. It keeps us from being in our whole brain. Our loved one who's abusing or misusing substances is not in their whole brain. So arguing about logic is just not helpful. So kind of dropping that argument state. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset. Find some ways to vent and voice those to other people, or my tip number 3 and 4 are making requests and drawing boundaries. So number 3 is something I struggled a lot with falling into, as instead of making requests of the other person, being passive aggressive or hinting at what I need, or being resentful about what they're not doing when I'm not really asking them for what I need. So my tip number 3 is to make a request. And it might help you to even use a sentence stem like, I'm requesting, my request is, fill in the blank to that other person. And then this is followed quickly by tip number 4, which is set boundaries. So decide for yourself where you're going to draw that line, what you're going to do if that boundary does not get upheld. But boundaries are a part of what protects us. And if we're experiencing a lot of anger and resentment, it's an opportunity for us to look at our boundaries. It's also an opportunity to look at our expectations. My tip number 5 is stop going to the hardware store for a loaf of bread. We don't go to the hardware store for bread. We go to the grocery store. So think about the expectations that you have of that other person. They are likely not available for you in the ways that you want or need them to be. So look at how you can adjust your expectations and meet your needs in other ways. My 6th tip here is around acceptance and grief. Accept and grieve. And this is not saying accept unacceptable behavior. This is an invitation to accept what is out of your control, what is happening right now. It is sad. It is sad and hard to see people struggling with substance misuse, with behaviors, with the consequences of their actions. So what might it be like to accept, instead of fighting what is all the time, to accept what is and allow the grief and the sadness that you may be trying not to experience to come in. Get some support for yourself around that. My 7th tip is shift the focus on you. Yes, I'm saying it again. It's very similar to what I've said before, but it is worth restating over and over again. Sometimes we hear that oxygen mask over self first. Keep the focus on you. I loved this acronym I've heard, MEDS, MEDS, mindfulness, exercise, diet, and sleep. Those are so basic for our own mental health. So what mindfulness, exercise, food, diet kind of supports and sleep do you need to really take care of yourself? And I'm going to link a bunch of resources below for loving people who are struggling with substance use, addiction, etc., that I have found to be great supports. Only you are going to know what kind of supports are best for you. So take what you like and leave the rest. And thank you for tuning in. I've got this more extensively written in my blog post as well. You're welcome to share with others. Thank you for paying attention and take care. My name is Hillary Bolter. I am the founder and CEO of MI Center for Change, where I provide high quality, engaging training and motivational interviewing. You can check out my website for more information, micenterforchange.com.